What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Bex, BEX, and in this week's video we're going to talk about what it's been like being in Zoom University, Zoom School of Law, Zoom class of 2020, Zoom class of 2023 actually. Basically just want to give you all the rundown. I know it's application season right now and I realize that I didn't apply to any school this early, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who are way more prepared than me who need this information right now. So this one's for you guys who are starting your application cycle right now, who are in the midst of it. This is just maybe a little bit of advice to help you all figure out, one, before it's kind of too late to decide if applying in this cycle is even what you really want to be doing right now. We don't know what COVID is going to be looking like. We don't know what things are going to be looking like even a year from now. Granted, you know, this year has really been like the trial run year for a lot of things, like for school, for work, you know, for just like social, recreational things. We've all been trying to figure out what's exactly going to work, what's the safest thing, how many, you know, safety precautions do we really need to take. Obviously make your own decisions, just, you know, figure out what you want, what's going to work for your timeline, and the track that you think that you need to be headed on. I get it. I totally understand the fact that there's just totally different circumstances for every single person. And so what I'm just hoping is that my advice will help you narrow down that decision a little bit better, or easier, and be able to make the best decision that's right for you and your family and whoever else is going to be implicated in your in you going to law school. Okay, first thing I'm going to say, for some universities, like a lot of the schools in California, they went completely online. So I still think that there's a difference between going completely online and doing the hybrid model. Going completely online means every single class, every single thing you do is going to be on Zoom, or it's going to be on some type of online learning platform. You're not going to have any classes in person. You're not going to be on campus pretty much at all, unless that school decided that they're going to allow their libraries or something to be open. But beyond that, there's not going to really be anything for you to do on campus. And the only type of interaction you would be having with people from school are the interactions you decide to have on your own time, if you want to meet other people at your own discretion. That is the completely online model that I'm not aware of. I don't know what that lifestyle is like. I can only speak to the hybrid model because that's what I'm currently in right now. That being said, the hybrid model is a combination of the two. So I have some classes in person and I have some of my classes online. My schedule pretty much looks like this. On a Monday morning, I wake up around 6:30 and at 8:30 I have class on campus. So what I'll do is I'll, you know, do my thing like I've kind of showed you in my first day of school video. That was me going to class on campus. So wake up, do my stuff before class. Around 8 I pick up my friend, we go to school, and we're there for about an hour and a half. We leave at 10, or sometimes nowadays we've actually been doing is our library will allow you to schedule appointments for 2 hours at a time. So we will schedule an appointment for the library right after that class because we have quite a big gap before our next class. So at 10 o'clock, class ends, we go to the library for about an hour. We just go to the library, take a practice test for an hour, and then we're done. We come home. By that point, it's like around 11:45-ish, 11:30 actually, and then I have another gap, so about 2 hours, and then I have class at 2. That class is on Zoom. I only have that class on Zoom. It's called Legislation and Regulation, and that's my Monday. So that whole day is like what a hybrid day would look like, is that I'll have campus class in the morning and then I'll have online class in the afternoon. Then the next day it's flipped. I have online class in the morning, my contracts class, which is completely online, I have that in the morning. Then I have a gap. I can like eat, do you know, chill for a little bit if I want to, or do some reading, and then leave for campus. And I'll have 2 classes back to back in the same classroom, my torts and my Civ Pro class, from 1 to 4:30. I'll have a 20-minute gap in between, but we stay in the same classroom. There are some days where I have class completely online, and those are going to be my Wednesdays and my Fridays. So my Wednesdays and Fridays are the days where I have all of my classes for the whole day completely online. On Wednesdays, I will have a career class around 10:30 for an hour. Then I'll have another gap, and then I'll have my Civ Pro and Torts class again. I have those two back to back, which is a killer, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Completely online. Then the next day, on Thursday, I have a hybrid day again where I have that class at 8, and then I have another class later on in the afternoon from 2 to 3:30 online. And then the next day on Friday is when I have 3 classes, all online, contract, Civ Pro, Torts, 9 a.m. to 4:30. It's brutal for a Friday, but once I'm done, I'm like, wow, okay, I did it. You did that, girl. You deserve a break. So I don't do anything else for the rest of the day. That's just what my week basically looks like. Hopefully I'll be able to kind of just show you my schedule so that you guys can get a better sense of what, just, you know, a more of a visual sense of what that looks like. But that's my hybrid learning model. Emory did a really good job of trying to get us on campus as much as possible, trying to make sure that we can at least try to meet, you know, a majority of our professors. And there's only 2 professors that I haven't really been able to meet in person. Besides that, I just see them on Zoom, and it is what it is. Now there will be some, I think there's going to be some changes to that, because I think what the school has figured out is that it's kind of difficult for us to have a class both online and in person. It kind of makes it a little bit more difficult also for the professors to kind of keep up with who's who and what section is what and who's taking their class in person and who's not. There are some people who are completely online despite the option of having the hybrid model. That's another thing I should have probably prefaced it with, is that you will also have the option, at least again for my school, you had the option to go completely online or to do the hybrid model. It really just depends on what kind of person that you are and what type of direction that you need. If you think you need a lot more, then maybe trying to find a school that's going to do the hybrid model or has some sense of how they're going to carry on with next year's classes is going to be important for you to figure that out. And I think that that's also what I'm hoping this video does, is if anything, it might not give you any real full advice as to whether or not you like whether or not you're gonna like the hybrid model or the non-hybrid model or fully online, whatever, or fully in person, but it will at least encourage you to seek out schools that are being very open and transparent about how they're going to carry on with next year, because you want to know what you're getting yourself into, is really what I'm trying to say. So we need to be aware of the fact that it's still going to influence our decisions and, you know, how we're gonna move about for the rest of the next like maybe 2 years, and it's going to have an impact on your decision for what law school that you go to. So it's important that you ask those questions to the admissions office or whoever is there at the school that's willing to answer the questions, whether that's the students. I would go and try and find people on LinkedIn maybe who are already a year or 2 deep into their program and ask them like, hey, has the school been telling you guys anything? Do you have any sense of how next year is going to look? Because if you don't ask those questions, you're never going to get the answer to them, and you don't want to get stuck in making a decision when you don't necessarily have all the answers that you could have had. You're not going to have everything, that's for sure, that's for certain. You will never have all of the answers, but I do think that there's a way to get the answers that you need in order to make the best decision possible for you, especially a decision that's going to be one of the biggest decisions you make in your life. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of what Zoom University really is like, and kind of like my likes and dislikes and the pros and cons of each of them. Okay, so I wrote out the things that I thought about, or just like the more specifics. Okay, so I gave you kind of like the general gist of what my hybrid model looks like and the overall experience of what that is like, but the specific parts, the pros and the cons, we're gonna get into now. I'm gonna say none of these are true cons where it's like, oh my gosh, completely just like red flag warning, do not go to law school online. Definitely not. These are just things that I think people would make people kind of hesitant, or at least rethink taking on over $100,000 in debt. Okay? just to go just to learn the law. I'm just saying this is the main purpose of all of this. So I will say the first con is that sometimes it's hard to ask questions because you're online and the professor isn't always looking to see if people are asking questions in the chat box. This is more so difficult for the classes that I have online and in person because, for example, I have torts, the subject. I have it both online and I have it in person because I go in person once a week and twice a week I learn it online. There are other people, though, on the days that I'm online that are going in from other sections that are going in and learning it in person. So on the days when I'm here, there are people there in class. So instead of it just being like the professor's in his home and he's teaching us and we're in our home and we're learning from here, the professor is still in class on campus teaching the class while there are other students there, and all it is like there's a camera in the back of the classroom that's on, like looking kind of in the professor's like area, like where his podium is, and then kind of like a little bit of the board, so that's like what you can see. And so he's not looking at the chat box because he is teaching the class. So the only person who's really looking at the chat box is the TA. So that I will say that is like probably the one thing that saves it. If there weren't TAs for Zoom University, this whole thing would be a disaster. And I'm just gonna say shout out to all the law school TAs out there right now that are really holding it down, okay? Holding it down for the 1Ls, holding it down for their professors, because especially some of these older people, without their TAs, they would not know how to work this technology. They would not be able to function properly because their class would not go as smoothly as they've been going. So if your class is a TA, make sure you thank them, or at least just, put that energy into the air right now to say thank you. So that's maybe something that you want to ask the school when you're applying, to be like, or whoever else you're talking to about that goes to that school, is to just ask them, do you have TAs? Are they helping professors? Are they facilitating their classes, facilitating the class discussions, questions and answering, whatever you want to phrase it as. Ask them, do they have TAs? Because TAs have been making this so much easier for these professors. So it is a little bit more difficult, I would say, to ask questions, but it just depends on how you look at it. Maybe it would actually be easier to ask a TA a question as opposed to asking the professor a question. It just depends. And then the way to kind of get around that is to just save your questions from that class at the end, and either wait and see if the professor is willing to kind of sometimes they'll just wait around there because they forget they haven't left the meeting yet. So if you want to, you can kind of just wait until class is done at the end, and then just unmute yourself and be like, hi professor, I have a question, and then just see if they'll be willing to stick around. Or you just save your questions from that class session, make sure you have them all written down, and then take them to office hours. So there's ways around it. It's not the end of the world. Another con is that sometimes it can get distracting because you can turn your camera off. They're not allowed to ask you why you have your camera off. If you want to just have your camera off and you just want to sit back and chill, you very much so can do that. No one is policing you here to turn your camera on and to be active and to show that you're writing your notes and that you're paying attention. No one is doing that. Now, obviously, if a professor calls on you, you're gonna have to answer whether or not you're at home. So that's up to you to decide how you're gonna approach that part. But for the most part, just learning, you don't have to have your camera on. You can get easily distracted. You can just pull up. You could be watching TV, you could be having that muted, doing whatever you want. Not saying this is what I do, but I'm just saying that if you fall victim to that type of environment where there isn't somebody right in front of your face being write your notes or watching what you're doing, if you don't have that kind of self-discipline, it can be easy to just go straight shop online or just do other things, maybe even study for another class. I mean, that's what I did a lot in undergrad. I'd be studying for other classes in class, or doing homework for other classes in another class. I wouldn't suggest doing any of that. I'm just saying that it is easier to do that when you're learning from home and the professor can't really see what you're doing and no one else is around you kind of encouraging you to be in that sort of study mode. There aren't many opportunities for social interaction when you're learning online, and that's coming from somebody who's doing the hybrid models, so I can't really imagine what it's like for people who are completely online. And if you are the type of person who really enjoys meeting new people, if you really enjoy having that opportunity to learn around other people, ask other people questions, kind of like brainstorm ideas together, bounce off ideas, if you're that kind of learner, being fully online is going to be a challenge, because being in the hybrid model is already kind of a challenge. I am very glad though that I am in hybrid, because I've already been able to make some friends from at least within my specific section, which is only about like 35 or something people. So it's really not even that big. I can't even, like, it's so crazy to know that there are like 300 of us in the 1L class and I only know like a tenth of us, it's really crazy. But it's not that much, not that many opportunities, not that many chances to meet a lot of people at once, obviously. Duh, okay, but I'm just saying that if you're going completely online, I don't really know. You're gonna have to really be that type of person who is very comfortable putting yourself out there. I highly suggest asking the school, asking someone who goes to that school, hey, what opportunities are there to interact with my classmates? Is this going to be completely online? Is it going to be a hybrid? Ask those questions, because if you don't take your own initiative to meet new people, this isn't going to be the environment where you're just going to magically have friends. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's not like joining a sorority or a frat where all of a sudden now you have like 500 new Instagram followers. Like, you're going to be interacting on GroupMe, maybe on Facebook, and some interactions on Instagram, but it's not going to be like undergrad where all of a sudden people just find you and they follow you and now you're friends simply because you go to the same school. It's much different than that. There are people of all different types of ages as well in law school, so some people are on the social media, trend, and some people are very much so off the grid. So you just never know. And I will say that there are some opportunities for the completely online people with like breakout rooms. So some professors who are more technologically savvy have been implementing breakout rooms where they split us up into sections, and we have to tackle a problem together, and then someone's designated as the speaker, and there are things like that where you can kind of interact with some people. But again, there'll be like 15 of us in a breakout room, and it's so easy to just not talk. Like, if you really just wanted to sit there, and trust me, trust and believe, in law school there will be people who will 100% dominate the conversation and will take the initiative to just be like, okay, so we're gonna say this and that, yeah, everyone good, and then everyone just does a thumbs up in the Zoom, and then they go and they talk. So to have like real genuine friendship making opportunities, kind of difficult to do that online, even in the hybrid model. Another thing is that there isn't much library time. So if you're very used to pulling your all-nighters in the library, if you're used to just going straight from class to the library, kind of difficult to do that right now. I don't know what the library situation is like for people who are completely online. I'm gonna have to inquire about that for some people. I do think that if your library, because, okay, for example, there's the 2Ls and the 3Ls at my school are completely online. It's only the 1Ls that have the hybrid option. So I believe though that because we're hybrid and the library is open to us, I do think that the 2Ls and 3Ls can schedule library time. So that's, again, that's specific to Emory. I don't know what other schools that are completely online are like, but if you don't have the hybrid model, making sure that your apartment space or wherever you're living, making sure that your office, like your desk space, is good for studying is going to be crucial, because there's just not going to be many opportunities for you to study outside of your home. Again, I only get to be in the library for 2 hours at a time, and most of it is really just to take a practice test, so I'm in and out of there in like an hour and a half tops. If you don't have that space, then if you're not going to be like moving into your own apartment or something, you're still living at home, or your family's big, whatever it might be, thinking about a school that is doing the hybrid model and allows you to have some library time at the very least might be important for you, because you might want to be getting out of your house so that you can study. So just inquire about that type of stuff, libraries, opportunities to interact with your classmates, if there are TAs at the school, things like that. Having to wear your mask the whole time. So if you're doing hybrid, or even if you're doing completely in person, whatever your school's doing, if there's any if you have to be on campus, you're gonna have to wear your mask. I'm on campus on Tuesdays from 1 to 4:30, and the whole time I have to wear my mask, and sometimes it can get irritating, but I'm 100% willing and able to wear my mask. I don't care that much where I'm going to like start protesting and being like, I'm anti-mask. Like, I really don't care enough. I care more about keeping my classmates safe and keeping myself safe. So at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal, but I do know that this is a touchy subject for some people, and you know, there are some people out there who really have not been, just simply not vibing with the masks, and that's your prerogative. As much as I don't understand it, it's your prerogative, but it's not your prerogative if you're deciding that you're going to go to school and be on campus, because they very much so are enforcing it. So inquire about that if that is going to be a concern for you, of wearing your mask, because if that's the case and you don't think that you'd be comfortable wearing a mask for that long, then I suggest that you just go completely online, because schools are taking this very seriously because they don't want any COVID cases. Oh, and I will say, so like for that time that I am on campus from like 1 to 4:30, I do have a 20-minute break in between those classes. So yes, I do have to wear my mask, but what I do is I bring a snack, or I have like some coffee or something, and I'll go outside onto the plaza and I will just eat my snack, drink coffee, so I can take my mask off for like 15 minutes or so, and just be outside. So I will say that that kind of helps break it up a little bit and not feeling like I'm suffocating the whole time. The other couple of things, there are some technical difficulties. It's nothing crazy. I will say the first kind of week was a little bit funny, watching the professors kind of figure things out. But again, because my school has employed TAs for the professors to facilitate the chat and facilitate the, the technological part pretty much, it's nothing to the point where it's making it impossible to learn, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, this is actually one that I'm like, I don't know why this bugs me personally, but it's just like been kind of difficult, is that all the clubs and societies meet on Zoom. So we're not allowed to have any group meetings on campus, although we're allowed to have our class group meetings, which is like, to me, I'm trying to figure out the logic, because we're allowed to have classes filled with like 30 to 40 people on campus, but they're not letting you have society meetings of like 30 to 40 people. So it's just funny to me that that's the situation, but whatever. So especially in September, in the first couple of weeks, when they were all trying to like introduce themselves to the 1Ls, and there were like club fairs and all these things, like you were just going from Zoom to Zoom to Zoom to Zoom. It's just kind of like tiring. But again, it's nothing that's actually I don't think any of that really warrants my frustration. I think that that's just a personal preference, again, which we are all entitled to. And if you don't like having to interact on that medium, then you should, be aware of that as of right now, that's what the interactions are looking like. Zoom for everything. There's a Zoom coffee chat, Zoom networking, which is actually the next thing I was going to talk about, is networking. Big network culture in law school. Big LinkedIn culture. Are you big on the asking somebody for 15 minutes of their time? Very big on the, can we have a quick coffee chat? That's another thing that's probably going to be happening on Zoom. You don't even remember how to like talk to people in person anymore. So far, I've done a lot of my networking online, and it's fine, it works. A lot of the societies have been trying to have either put on already or are planning to put on networking panels, or just like opportunities to learn about internship opportunities, firms that alumni work for, and they'll just be on the Zoom, they'll talk about it, give you opportunities to do a Q&A. So I will say that there's plenty of opportunities to meet these people online. Those chances aren't being taken away. It's more so that you're not having like a very genuine, it's very much so like, can we just do like a quick 15-minute Zoom call, or can we do just like a quick chat, or like you're emailing back and forth or chatting on LinkedIn back and forth. So I don't know how different that is from pre-COVID times. I guess I'm just grateful that the internet even exists and gives us the opportunity to communicate in such a way. I think that is pretty cool. Again, it's all about how you look at it. It works, there's opportunities, they aren't being taken away from you. It's just different now. That's really all I would say. It's different. And it just depends on, are you going to take the initiative to go out and meet people yourself, to put yourself out there, because there aren't going to be people walking around the law school anymore. There aren't going to be people that are like at these little networking events at your law school, because now they're either going to be online or you're going to have to go seek them out. Now I'm just going to give y'all a couple of pros, because I've been hating on Zoom University and I do think that there are some pros to it. And actually, I think that there are enough pros where I might even go completely online next semester, and I'm going to tell you why. So the pros are that you get to go from your room to your desk, turn your computer on, and now you're in class. When you have so much to do all day, not having to leave your house is kind of clutch. It was weird at first, but now knowing that like I can just wake up, put a shirt on, like maybe at most a cute shirt, and then like wear whatever I want on the bottom. My kitchen's here, like the cafeteria, the couch, the TV, like everything is right here. So it's like, it actually works pretty well. And that's like the biggest thing that's making me consider staying online. No commute time, so that's attached to that. The fact that I don't have to spend as much money on gas anymore. Like I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I have not driven my car for like 4 or 5 days. Gas money that I'm saving, like literally just keeping in my pocket, not having to give it to the man. You know, it's a good day when you can keep your money and not have to give it to the man, okay? It is a good day. Don't have to worry about how you look. You can, like I said, you can literally just turn your camera off. You don't even have to move to the school. So if you are applying to some out-of-state programs and say you live on the East Coast and the program you're applying to is on the West Coast, you don't have to move. Now, you do have to take into consideration the fact that there's going to be a time difference. But if you have no problem with that, it saves you money in that respect, because one, again, so I'm not commuting, so I'm not spending as much money on gas. Like if you don't want to, you don't have to move, which can save you some money if you get to just like stay at home and live with your parents or whatever it is. This is the most clutch thing, is that lectures are recorded. So you can go back and re-watch them, because these professors, I have a professor who literally, it hits 1 o'clock and he's right into the lecture. He's not like, hey guys, how was your day? No, babes. He goes, it's 1 o'clock. Okay, are we ready? Let's go. Whoa, buddy. Oh my gosh, I don't even have my document up yet. Relax. You have to take that into account as well. These professors teach differently, so you're gonna have to, you know, be aware of the fact that some things are going to be like, being online is going to be harder for some classes than other classes, because some professors are so hands-off that they're just like, okay, well, I gave you the material, so here. And there are going to be some who really walk you through it, who are trying to make it as interactive as possible. Like my contracts class, he's got a PowerPoint going up at the same time, and he puts up the PowerPoint slides and the recorded lecture. So there are lots of, you know, you're gonna have to realize that each professor is not gonna be the same. There's no one way to teach the law. There's no one way to teach each subject in the law. So professors are gonna be different. If this is something that you're actually really like worried about how you're gonna learn and what that experience is gonna be like, definitely reach out to some students if you can. Try and reach out to some students at the schools that you're interested in applying to and ask them, like, what is it like? Are the lectures recorded? Are professors putting PowerPoints up? How are office hours looking? What are their TAs? Like, these are questions that you can be asking students who are currently in those situations right now, preferably 1Ls, because they're the ones who are really like, especially like for me, the 1Ls are the only ones doing the hybrid model. So going and asking a 2L or a 3L, not going to be as helpful, because they don't know what the hybrid model is. So that's my advice, guys. I know I really went in on it, but I do think, again, that this is an important decision that you're gonna have to make, and it can be stressful to think about it, especially because you might be trying to go to a school that is completely on the other side of the country, or just to a place that you've never been before, or you don't know anyone there, and so you're kind of worried about like, okay, how do I make such a big decision? How do I make such a big move in the middle of a pandemic, not really knowing what the next year is going to look like? You know, there are people, you know, if you're applying right now, things could be so different a year from now. You just never know. And so trying to take as many things into consideration, I think, is going to be the best advice that I can give. Being aware about the type of person, the type of learner that you are, whether that is in regards to type of like learning environment that you need, or the type of social environment that you need in order to thrive, because this is a holistic decision, right? You're not just making a decision about your educational, like your academic life, but you're making a decision about your life period. Like, where are you going to be settling potentially for the next 3 years and beyond? You know, what kind of career are you kind of going down? You might have a family right now, or a significant other, or whatever, that you're gonna have to move with you and, you know, make this decision for all of you. So when you think about it that way, you realize that you are going to have to ask a lot of questions so that you can have the peace of mind knowing that this was a well-researched decision. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know that you liked it in the comments down below. Or just hit me up on Instagram. I am always answering questions on Instagram. Email me, whatever it is that you need, because I wish I had this advice when I was going through the process. Obviously, no one could have told me what this would be like a year ago today, which is so crazy to think that literally a year ago in October, no one was predicting this to happen, right? So no one could have really given me this advice, but I know that if there was a way to have this advice, I would have loved to have had it. So I don't know what a year is gonna look like, but I do know that, you know, if things are the same, then this advice will hold true. If things change a little bit, then maybe some of these things will hold true still, and some of it you can just throw away and it can just be garbage. I don't know. Up to you to decide. Please hit me up on my Instagram if you have any questions, if you want me to see if I can connect you with people who are applying to this, or who go to the schools that you're applying to. Whatever I can do in whatever capacity. If I don't have the answers to it, I'll try and find somebody who does. So if you enjoy these videos, again, like, comment, subscribe to my channel. We're almost at 500, which is so exciting and pretty cool. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing week. I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.